Hi, I'm Huna. Welcome back to the cave, and today we're going to have a little chat about what I think are the bare basics that you'll need to paint your first Mini. An easy one to start with, you're going to need a water pot, an old jar or a mug, perfectly fine. You don't need anything more than these. As for paintbrushes, you may have heard a lot of talk about getting your Rosemary & Co or your Winsor & Newton or your Raphaels. These are very good paintbrushes. Not needed for your painting your first Mini. A simple synthetic brush that goes to a point in a size 1 or 2 will be perfectly fine. If all you have access to is a Games Workshop, then their medium layer brush is probably going to be the one that I'd recommend to start with. Having said that, for the price that you'll pay for this one brush, you can get a pack of synthetic brushes from Amazon or eBay or probably your local craft store. I don't have any affiliate links, but I did have a quick look on Amazon before I started recording this video. I'll post a couple of links to a couple of packs that I found in the description below. When it comes to paint, the only rule you really need to follow is that it needs to be an acrylic paint that's designed to be used on miniatures. The acrylic paints that you get from your local craft store are not good enough. Now, if you only have access to a Games Workshop, their range of Citadel paints are perfectly fine. It's just the bottles that they come in are a pain in the backside. Things like Scale 75, Vallejo and Army Paint, they come in these handy dropper bottles. So if you can get those, use them. Apart from that, Citadel is perfectly fine. Something else I think you're going to find handy is a painting handle. Yeah, you can hold your Mini like this and paint it if you want to. It's not very stable and your fingers and thumbs are going to get in the way when you want to paint certain areas. Now you can buy a painting handle, but in all honesty, a cork with a bit of blue tack or a little bottle with a bit of blue tack is perfectly fine. You're also going to need a palette to mix and thin your paints on, because generally speaking, you don't take paint straight out of the pot and put it on your model. Now a palette could be anything from a plate to a tile. You can use one of these plastic ones that you can get off of Amazon or from a local hobby store. My recommendation though, if you can, make yourself a wet palette. I've done a video about wet palettes. I'll link it up there and in the description below. But if you can't make one, then a plastic palette or an old plate or a tile will be perfectly fine. You're also going to need some kitchen roll or some blue roll. Either of these is fine. I wouldn't use toilet paper. It tends to be a little bit too fibrous and those fibers get caught up in the bristles of your brush and then transferred to your Mini. Kitchen roll, blue roll, either of these is fine, whatever you have access to. Some Minis do come pre-primed, but most don't. So grab yourself an aerosol can of grey primer that's good to use on plastic. It doesn't really matter. I use a Car one, but one from a hobby shop is fine. If you know you're going to be painting an army that is predominantly one colour, you can get aerosols in that colour from a number of manufacturers. I paint a lot of Stormcast Eternals. I've got a gold primer. It saves me a lot of time. I can prime and base coat in one hit. If you're painting a single piece model like this one, then that is going to be all you need to get started. However, if you're painting a model that comes on a sprue that needs to be assembled, you are going to need a few more items. The first of which is going to be a set of snips. Now these flush side cutters are going to be the ones that you want to go for, but if all you've got is a normal set of snips, use those. You're just going to have a bit of extra tidy up work later on. When you've removed the parts off the sprue, you're going to need to tidy up where you've actually cut them. Emery boards are brilliant for this. I picked these up from the local supermarkets for about £1. They have a medium side and a fine side. You don't need anything more than that. Once you've got them tidied up, you're going to need to stick them together. If you've got some super glue already, just use that. If you don't, then Gorilla Super Glue Gel is the way that I would go. It's good for plastic, resin and metal Minis. Now I know there are going to be people screaming at me about the Tamiya extra thin cement to be used on plastic Minis. This stuff is very good, but for your first Mini, go for the super glue gel. If you decide this hobby's not for you, you'll find far more uses for this than you will for this. If you stick in with the hobby, then absolutely get some of this for your plastic Minis. So there we go. That's what I think are the basics that you're going to need to paint your first Mini. If you've got any thoughts or you think I missed something out, please put it in the comments below. Join us next time as we paint this. This is the Theoden, the King of Rohan from Games Workshop's Lord of the Rings. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you back here in the cave.